to our last video of the day on this Wednesday, which is for writing. So yesterday in writing, we were talking about the 3 steps that we are going to do every single time we start a new journal entry. Remember, an entry is what you're going to write each day in your journal as an answer to a question or a prompt that is given to you. So let's review those 3 steps to start. I want to hear your nice loud voice. Here we go. Number 1, skip a line. Number 2, write the date. Number 3, skip a line. So good job. This is what we're going to do every single time we write in our journal. And don't worry, we'll review this when we get going on our journals. This is going to be super important. But today we get to focus on something new. So this is our goal for learning about our journals today. I can brainstorm how to start a journal entry by talking with my conversation buddy. So your conversation buddy is going to need to help you out today in writing as well. I told you we were going to need him a lot. So today we are working on what we call brainstorming. Brainstorming. That is a pre-writing skill. It's something that we do before you write. Brainstorming requires you to think about your ideas, to gather ideas and get a sense of what you want to write about. So you have an idea of where you're going once your pencil hits the paper. So brainstorming is what we do before we start writing to think about, what do I have to say? So today we are going to do that by answering this question. So this is an example journal prompt. We're going to read it together in a second, but a lot of journal prompts that I give you require you to use your imagination. They're not real situations that happen, but they require you to think outside the box and fantasize about what could be possible. I have a huge imagination. I daydream all the time. So I love to make up fabulous new worlds in my head. So that is what we are going to try to do today. So this is a journal prompt example. It says, imagine a giant box is delivered to your front doorstep. So we have a giant box. It's sitting on your doorstep with your name on it. So this giant box has Miss Wrangle written all across it. And your giant box has your name. What's inside? And what happens when you open it? So there's this giant box. It has your name on it. The question for you is, what is inside this giant box? And what happens when you open it? That is where your imagination comes in. This situation might have happened to you, but most likely it hasn't. So you have to think about, you have to brainstorm what would be. How could I answer this question? And one way we're going to practice using our imagination to help us write and answer our journal prompts is by seeing and talking. We're going to see and talk. And I love my little pictures. So we're going to see and talk. When we are seeing, we're going to be seeing in our brain, in our imagination. We can't actually go outside and look at that giant box. We have to picture it. We have to see it in our minds. So that's our first step. And then, to help us get out the words that we could use to describe this event, we're going to talk it out with our conversation buddies. When I'm brainstorming before I write a paper, especially in college, I always had to talk out my ideas. I had to brainstorm, I had to write them down, I had to walk around my room and talk to myself. But talking through our ideas helps us get a sense of what we want to write down. And it is always a good idea to know where we're going once we start writing. So today, we're going to practice seeing in our brains, and talking with our conversation buddies. This little image is like a think bubble cloud, and it has its eyes closed because it's trying to see really hard in its brain. So let's go back to our question. This giant box, you're imagining a giant box. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to picture that giant box on your doorstep. What does it look like? How big is it? What color does it look like? Is your name written in beautiful letters, or is it just like scribbled across the box? This is your image. You can pick however you want it to look. Okay, so you see this box. I want you to picture yourself opening it. You can close your eyes still. Picture yourself opening the box. Okay, what do you think is inside the box? What would you want to be inside the box? First thing that pops in your mind. What would make you the happiest when you open the box? For me, it would be so many chips. I love chips, and if there was a giant box just full of chips, it would make me so happy. So I want my box to be full of chips. What would be in your box? So you've opened your box, you've seen what's inside. What happens next? What happens when you open it? Does something pop out? Does someone come running? What do you say? How do you feel? So when I open my box, I scream because I am just so happy to see all these chips. But then my brother comes running and he grabs the chips away. So that's what I would imagine happening if I opened a box full of chips. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen to you after you opened your box? Okay, we just spent some time closing our eyes and trying to picture and see that giant box in our head. So now it's time for us to move on to the talking stage. This is when we are going to use our words to express what we saw in our minds. And our conversation buddy is going to help us out with that. So, I was talking with Mr. Mo, and I was telling him that I saw this giant box, and when I opened it, it was filled with chips, and this box was huge, and it was kind of old, but then when I opened it, my brother came, and he pushed me aside, and he grabbed a bunch of chips, and then he ran away. That's what I was picturing in my mind. So I want you to get your ideas out to your conversation buddy. Make them listen with their whole body. So you're going to pause the video right now, and you're going to tell your conversation buddy what you saw in your mind, and then I want you to come on back. Okay, pause. Awesome, you're back. You just told your conversation buddy all about what you are picturing in your head. So now that we have talked out our ideas, it's time to craft them into nice sentences. So I'm going to show you a sentence frame. Once we start writing, we are always going to be given sentence frames to help us start our writing and get it moving. So today when you make your video assignment to this writing lesson, you are going to use these sentence frames to help you craft and build your answer. So it says, if I found a giant box on my doorstep, I would find blank. Then blank. So this is giving us a nice structure to our answer that we are going to practice when we start writing. So I would say, if I found a giant box on my doorstep, I would find chips inside. Then I would scream, and my brother would come steal them. So I use this sentence frame to express my ideas in a way that I would write it down. So you talked out your ideas with your conversation buddy, and now you can put them into this structure when you make your video. This is going to be great practice when we start writing. So your job is to take a video of your answer to our giant box journal prompt using this sentence frame. You can write it down if you need to, but if you got it in your brain, then go for it. I can't wait to see your videos of your answers to our giant box prompt. So let me see how creative you got.